Welcome back, everybody. It is the RP show on a Monday. I love everybody's mood today. I love it a lot. And I'm sure Jim Biringer, Jersey Jim, is going to bring the sizzle too from NHL Full Press and NHLRumors.com. He's just a bouncy ray of sunshine kind of guy. How you doing, Jimmy?
I'm doing well, Rod. How are you?
Good, good, good. I love what you bring to the table, and that is the fact that you can speak on a variety of topics. I was telling the viewers earlier, I don't know if you were watching, when you came and stayed with me, I realized how hard you worked. Allie from Texarkana says you never sleep. Do you sleep, Jim?
I try to sleep. Yeah, I appreciate the kind words, everybody. Yeah, I try to sleep. I got to get my sleep, let's be honest here, or else I can't be this perky and have all this energy.
And break all the stories and talk about all the scoops. So enough about all that. We got a lot to get to with Jersey Jim from NHL Full Press and NHLRumors.com. Let me start with the NFL because it's the biggest league on the continent. You and I kind of had that fun talk about who would have more wins, the Giants or Jets in the New York. Right? You're laughing already. And we thought for
Yeah.
sure it was a slam dunk. It would be the Giants. And all of a sudden, here come the Jets. Everybody's getting hurt from the Giants. They're getting screwed by the refs. Give me a New York football report today.
Yeah, yeah. New York Football Report is look. Giant fans and the Giants themselves are not happy with the officiating in Philadelphia against the Birds. Look, I know Philadelphia was going to come out and probably shellac the Giants anyway, but it was a close game. I mean, look, I was always been on the side of hey, got to keep the tush push in the game because it's part of the game. Well, if you can't officiate it right, I have a feeling it's gone next year because we're seeing fumbles get called back because of forward progress. Blake and Plains, come on, we got to officiate this game right. Giants not happy. Cam Scatterboo gets hurt, and it feels like the season's over. All the energy those young guys brought to the Giants feels like it's down the drain right now. And meanwhile, over in the Jets land, look, good for them. Get a big win in Cincinnati. Prayers out to the Mangold family. Terrible news that happened on Sunday right before the game. They win one for the ultimate Jet and Nick Mangold. Feels like, right now, Jets get another one. Both teams are 2 wins, and then we'll find out who gets more wins down the rest of the season. It feels like the Giants should have more wins than they do, though, because they gave some games away. Dallas, New Orleans, Denver. So they probably should still be in the lead by a large margin. But I think the Giants edge them out, but it's not. It's probably going to be like 1 or 2 wins if they do it.
I never had the chance to introduce you to my friend Chris from the Bronx when you were here. He is the biggest Giants fan that I know, but he's up and down like a toilet seat, man. I'm like with emotions from this Giants football team. Before we move on, can I at least say this? At least Brian Daboll's not coaching for his job anymore. They obviously believe in him and they have a future. I'm not sure the Jets do.
No, I mean, I don't think Aaron Glenn's going to get fired after the first season because they just brought him in. But then again, that's Woody Johnson. He really doesn't know what he was doing. The Jets were actually doing okay when he was Ambassador Johnson during, the president's first term of office before he came back again. And we're not going to go down that road. But he was away from the team, and the team was good. Now he's back with the team, Woody Johnson, and the team's not good. So I have 1-1, I think equals 2 here. So I think Woody Johnson needs to go away for a little bit. Giants have a bright future ahead. I think Daboll's safe for now, unless Mara's like, no. But I think you're seeing it. He picked Jackson Dart. He wanted Jackson Dart. And look, I've been like this as a Giants fan for a long time. Before we went to 17 games, I was like 8-8 every year. And if they win a Super Bowl, great. If they don't, I'm not going to put too many high expectations on this team. But I like what the young guys are bringing to the table.
Viewers are dying to talk hockey with you, Jimmy. And I was saying earlier, I'm leaving. Actually, this is when I got home from the Panthers and the Golden Knights, and I flip open my Cats and Rats post-game show, and you're on it. I'm like, that. When she said you don't sleep, I'm like, I don't think he does. But Paul Maurice said after that game Saturday night that he thinks Jack Eichel might be the best player in the NHL. And I think he was suffering from recency bias for president. I'm like, did you forget what McDavid did in the last 2 Stanley Cup finals? But at least it's a discussion. And that's our poll question today. Who's the best player in the NHL? McDavid, Eichel, McKinnon, or other? There's people from Toronto writing in, obviously saying Austin Matthews. But who do you believe right now is the best player in the NHL?
Best player in the NHL to me still is Connor McDavid. I think Jack Eichel is probably one of the best centers right now in the league. Like, he's got the most points. He got more points than McDavid. Do I think he's better than McDavid? No. I think Eichel's doing what he has to do with Vegas, really good Vegas team. But I still think McDavid's the best player in the NHL. But I think if you could put a player in other, I would say still Sidney Crosby could be in that category as the fourth in that, because I just love what he was doing with Pittsburgh right now. He's the ageless wonder. Him and Malkin are turning back the clocks recently with the Penguins. So you never can count out Crosby and those guys out. But right now, to me, McDavid, I know his point totals aren't there, his goal totals aren't there. I know Eichel, recency bias, what he does. Everybody likes to look at stats. But if we're going to say best player, it's still Connor McDavid.
I agree. And I'm sure Paul Maurice, if you gave him a cup of coffee, he would say the same thing. But what's similar about those guys is you do have a tendency to just stand there and watch them.
Yeah.
Because they're mesmerizing. They're mesmerizing with their skill. Not that Sidney isn't, but you're not going to see Eichel digging in the corner. You're not usually going to see McDavid digging in the corner. You're going to see Sid doing that. But that's just the way they all play differently, which is what's so exciting about that. Now, another thing about Jersey Jim, everybody, from NHLrumors.com and NHL Full Press, which, by the way, I didn't realize it would help you a lot, Jim, if people went to those sites and signed up for subscriptions. They're not expensive, but it would help you out a lot, right?
I appreciate that. No, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, please sign up and follow along, because you'll stay informed when those things come out, because you'll be on top of the game before everybody else.
Yeah, Jersey Jim, I was amazed at how hard you work, man. So bravo.
Appreciate
and
that.
You do a great job. So you were first on the Jacob Markstrom to New Jersey thing 2 years ago, right? I remember giving you kudos to that for that. And it seems to have worked out pretty good with the Devils. They're the number one team in the NHL today. When do the Flames start trading again? When do they raise the white flag?
I think I got to give it to the 20-game mark. I'm going to be honest. But I feel like, look, we talked about it last year with the Rangers, and I'm going to bring this comparison in this analogy. There's a lot of off-ice distractions last year with the New York Rangers in that locker room. And I know, look, we'll go back to Connor McDavid, what he says, being professional. If we can't keep that out of the room, what are we doing here? Like, why are we playing this game? It feels like the Flames have too many distractions in their locker room. Talk to some people, and no one likes what Michael Backlund said before the season started about, hey, we know Rasmus Anderson's getting traded. Not sure you should be saying that before your season even begins. I think we all know it. It's the thing you don't say, right? It's a secret thing. We all know it, but we're not going to say it out loud. And I think Nazem Kadri's name continues to be out there as well. So they're dealing with those distractions. How do we balance? We got 96 points last year. We were right near the playoffs. We want to be competitive, but we're struggling with offense. They finally put up 5 goals the other night against the Rangers, who are, again, not a playoff team. If anybody thought Mike Sullivan was going to help them out, no. But I think we got to give it to the 20-game mark, and then we're going to have to see where this team stands in the conference, And look, I think the best thing that would happen, even though I would like to see them in the playoffs, I think they need a top pick in Calgary. I think they need like a Gavin McKenna type player that can drive the offense. We're seeing what happens in San Jose. All these up-and-coming teams have a player like that. That would be best for Calgary. And I think 20 games is where we're going to start seeing them maybe wave the white flag. It all depends on the record.
Well, I don't know what you're hearing in New Jersey, but I've seen in Calgary with my own eyes, and I got a lot of great friends on the team and within the organization. So what's going on with Rasmus Andersson, as bad as it is, I don't think affects their lack of offense. Like, the culture they're building there is, if you don't want to be here, we don't want you here. Because for the last 20 years, people didn't want to be there. As recently as Matthew Tkachuk and Johnny Gaudreau, let's be honest, Markstrom, right? So this is kind of like biting the bullet in a way, because I still think they're going in the right direction. I do.
Yeah, I like what they're doing. I like what Craig Conroy is building. But again, that's a situation with Rasmus Andersson. Either you get him extended or we figure out a trade partner. And it probably should have been done before the beginning of the season, in my opinion. Because, it was lingering. He was getting questions about it last year. Okay, we want to take the offseason and figure some things out. He wants to have a better season. But at some point, everybody needs a right shot defenseman. He's put up a couple of goals now. The offense is struggling. Again, we need to see more from Huberdeau. We need to see more from Matt Coronado, who just signed big extensions, Sharon Govich. We've seen Dustin Wolf commit. The culture is there. The narrative is changing in Calgary about guys wanting to stay there. Does Rasmus Andersson want to stay there? If he does, then we need an extension. If he doesn't, then we have to figure out a way where we can trade him.
I'm with you on Would have been nice to have it done and dealt with in the summer. But I'm sure Craig Conroy tried. Like, you're a huge fan of Craig Conroy, are you not?
Oh, I love Craig Conroy. I love what he's done, the deals that he made,
Yeah.
especially all that year with Toffoli moving out, Elias Lindholm that year. All those guys, Nikita Zadorov, all those guys got moved out, and the team played better. Now we got to figure out who else is going out and try to turn this thing around in Calgary because they want to have something special in place when they open the new building.
Yeah. Allie in Texarkana writes, and she says, I totally agree with Jim on Crosby. Sid will always be a legend in my book, and he will never play anywhere else but Pittsburgh. But I think if Jenny Malkin will be playing somewhere else next year. For a fun topic, let me ask you this. Coach's hot seat. For whatever reason, they love to talk about it in football. They don't love to talk about it in hockey, but can we ask who will be the first coach fired in the NHL? Would you be interested in broaching that?
I don't have a problem with the hot seat talk. I mean, I do it all the time in college football. We've talked about. I was on the James Franklin train for years. I mean, James Franklin should have been out of Penn State, and he finally was. Same with Brian Kelly, it just happened yesterday. Not surprising. If we look around the league, I mean, it is early, but none of the guys that signed extensions, and John Cooper's not going anywhere. For anybody who thought John Cooper's going to get fired, not happening. They'll turn it around. Not to mention he coaches a team named Team Canada Olympics. Like, I don't think that would be such a good look. But if I look around, I think you're going to have to figure out what the situation is in Buffalo. Lindy Ruff's a lame duck coach. Do they bring in a guy like Pete DeBoer they're turning some things around right now. Excuse me. And if you look at it, he's a lame duck coach. He doesn't have another contract. Is that the type of coach that they need to bring those young guys, those players on D? The foundation is there. Is that maybe they try to make the move early especially if they're out of it, if they tail off again? Because right now they're in the mix. It's still early. But a place like Buffalo, to me, I've always circled it because I've never been a fan of the hire of Lindy Ruff because I was like, it's only 2 years. What can he accomplish in 2 years that we haven't seen other coaches do? And again, I'm still not bought in fully into the Buffalo Sabres. So that's a place to me I'm looking. If I try to think other places around the league, Boston's not going to do anything. They just hired Marco Sturm. St. Louis is really not going to do anything. I think the big one right now is Buffalo because I think everybody either is new, signed extensions, and they want us to have feelers out there.
Well, it's just funny. I'm smiling because I think of how early it is. And I want to slap myself for having these discussions right now because when they hired Lindy Ruff, I was exactly the same as you. I'm like, you can't go back. I mean, what is this, Billy Martin? And in my mind, I thought about Allie's Dallas Stars here. Glenn Gulletson going back. You know, they are 12th overall in the NHL at 5-3-1, the Dallas Stars. But it's like have you ever stopped to think maybe we're rushing to too many judgments here? It's a little early, Jim. Do you ever is that ring in your mind ever?
Yeah, it always does. I mean, look, I'll say this. I think my prediction early when Mike Sullivan was hired in New York, I was not a fan of it. And it's clear that the defensive issues in New York need to change. It feels like it's the same defensive issues that were in Pittsburgh. And look what Pittsburgh did. They decided to move on from Mike Sullivan. Dan Muse comes in. The defense is a lot better than it was. Guys are buying in a new voice. I think there's a lot of things that need to change in that Ranger locker room and the players that have been put together and the general manager. But the general manager's not going anywhere because they just gave him an extension. So they're going to have to ride it out. It is early. We do have to pump the brakes because sometimes it is overreaction because the Sabres figured out something. Maybe the Flames figure out something too. Way too early. That's why I say like 20, 25 games. We'll know a team by 20, 25 games.
Well, Bomber Boy writes and he says, Blues coach too. What's old is new again. But Jim Montgomery had never coached in St. Louis before. So I'm talking about going back to your old team. That's what we're talking about with Lindy Ruff, Billy Martin, Glenn Gulletson. I know guys, coaches are hired to be fired. Jim Montgomery was going to coach summer. Shoot, he was the coach of the year, right? And then gets fired the next year.
And it wasn't his fault in Boston. It wasn't his fault in Boston, by the way. It's clear. It's clear as day that roster is just poorly constructed.
Very clear. And Same thing with the Rangers. You said something needs to
Yeah,
change in the dressing room. What more
yeah.
could they change, Jim? They got rid of Trouba, Kreider, fired the coach.
I mean,
There's a
Panarin
little
still need
right.
Panarin.
Man,
He may join somebody, maybe join one of his buddies, Benajad. Like at some point, there's got to be other moves that can be made. And I was not a fan of Chris Drury getting the extension because I said, what did he do to make the team better? He didn't.
yeah. Do me a favor, please, between now and the next time we talk. See what you're hearing about Bob. Because
Yes,
the
I
other
will.
night in the press
Absolutely.
box, well, just he's the biggest name coming up in free agency. He has to be, isn't he?
Him and Panarin are two. Tuck, Kempe, but the belief is Tuck and Kempe will re-sign with their respective clubs. So that leaves Bob and it leaves Panarin, the two guys that were top free agents 7 years ago.
I know. Well, the thing is with Bob, just talking to the people here, I'm like, there's no way he could possibly leave. And just some of the pundits in the press box, hockey guys, like, well, more is more. It's not like he's going to sign any less to stay in Florida. Okay, and he's already making 10. So maybe he could get 12 or 13 somewhere else because let's be honest, he is the best goalie in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely take a look at it and but before next time. But my opinion on it is if it's either Florida or it's retiring. I just don't see him going anyplace else. I think the system fits him perfectly in Florida and everything that's going on in Florida. But I'm gonna definitely look into that for you for next time we talk.
Thanks, Jimmy. He seems so happy here, but we all do. Oh, by the way, do you even have? What do you want to talk about? World Series or college football? I don't even know if you're following baseball anymore since the Yankees are out. Your elbows deep in college football right now.
I mean, we could hit both if we got time.
Let her rip.
All right.
Oh, 2 minutes.
World
Wait, 2 minutes.
Series. I got 2 minutes. I got 2 minutes. Here we go. World Series, Dodgers and Jays. First two games have been great. Throwback in game two to Yamamoto and Gosman pitching duel. Love to see it. I know a lot of people want to see home runs. I think whoever can break open an inning in game three, like the Jays did it in game one and the Dodgers did it in game two, whoever can break it open late is going to win the game. I still give the edge to the Dodgers, though. I just think they have too much, and their starting pitching is going to get better, and so is Ohtani. As far as college football goes, no surprise, Brian Kelly out at LSU. You cannot give up 35 straight points in the second half and get blown out at home in Death Valley when you promised national championships and you didn't even sniff the playoff in 4 years. Hate to see guys go, but I never liked the move for him going down to LSU. Thought he should have stayed at Notre Dame. And now they got to go find a new coach because apparently Ed Ogeron wasn't good enough when they brought him a national championship with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase.
Nice work, my dude. Nice work. Well, James Franklin doesn't think he should have been fired at Penn State. Just maybe you saw his interview on ESPN College
Yeah,
Game Day.
they both have.
I'm like, why are you?
They both have
Yeah.
losing records.
I'm like, why are you giving him a microphone? Yeah, exactly.
That's what I said.
Jersey Jim, whatever your setup you got going, you look great. The sound is amazing on that microphone. So, and the lighting's perfect. So let's do it again soon and do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Jimmy. Great job. Everybody sign up at NHL Full Press and NHLRumors.com. That's where Jimmy does his thing, and he does it better than everybody else. See you next time, brother.
Peace out.
All right, Jim Biringer from Jersey. Spoiling the surprise, that's where he's from. Jersey Jim from New Jersey. Sports update coming up in Viewer Takeover. We're live across Nevada, Silver State Sports Entertainment Network, and Game Plus.